Hello, I am once again coming to you from an undisclosed location. There's no footage for this movie. I also just got out of the shower. So there's no footage for this movie, once again, which kind of sucks because Hello? Okay, well, there's supposed to be lights that come on when I motion, but there's no footage for this movie, which sucks because I went into detail about how much I did not like it, and I do not have footage to show for this. So I will do my best with what I can find, and you're just gonna have to deal. Wow, the motion really just isn't working. Sick. Anyway, here's the video. All right, let's talk about C.H.U.D 2, Bud the C.H.U.D. I did not like this movie. So, Bud C.H.U.D 2, C.H.U.D Bud, was directed by David Irving, director of Goodbye Cruel World, Night of the Cyclone, filmed musical versions of Rumpelstiltskin, Sleeping Beauty, The Emperor's New Clothes, and that's it. That's all he ever did. And C.H.U.D 2, starring, and this is the only name out of this movie I could find that has been in literally anything anybody's ever heard of, starring Larry Cedar, who was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Constantine, the remake of The Crazies, and The Master of Disguise. Shouldn't have done that. This thing scares the shit out of me, and just slapping something on it like that is gonna make me shit myself. C.H.U.D, Bud 2, C.H.U.D 2, Bud the C.H.U.D, the dumbest fucking name, it's a zombie movie. It's just a fucking zombie movie again. It's a goddamn zombie movie again. Every single fucking time they do something interesting, it's always a fucking zombie. It is a horror comedy, and it's about 3 teenagers who look like they're 27, but it's the 80s, so, you know, that's what they did. It's 3 teenagers who steal a body from a government facility because they were gonna picket a cadaver in school, and they lost the cadaver. So instead of just coming clean and telling the teacher they lost the cadaver, they sneak into a government facility to go get a cadaver who happens to be a C.H.U.D left over from the first movie, except the C.H.U.D doesn't look like the C.H.U.Ds in the first movie. This C.H.U.D just looks like a fucking pale, dead person, like a goddamn zombie. There was one of them, one of these fucking people in C.H.U.D 1. We saw one person in C.H.U.D 1 who wasn't this like beetle thing, and it's because he was just beginning to turn. Ooh, so he's turning. And it's in theory that when they are infected with this poisoning, it takes a little bit of time, but then they turn into these beetle things. So not quite a zombie adjacent enough, but not quite a zombie, a little bit more interesting than just a fucking undead cadaver. C.H.U.D 2 is about an undead cadaver, and it annoyed me because I wanted to see the fucking beetle. They steal this cadaver from the government facility, accidentally bring it back to life, and it's a slapstick, pratfalling, goofy walking son of a bitch who's just walking around biting people. The first person it bites is their dog, and then it's like the neighbor, and it's the beginning of a zombie outbreak. We already saw this with Return of the Living Dead 2. Technically already saw this even prior to that with Return of the Living Dead. Technically saw this with demons. Technically saw this with Rabid. It's the same fucking thing every time, except this one tries to be funny. And there were bits that made me laugh, but then there were other bits where the joke just kept going. And after a certain bit, it's like, okay, hey man, you tried with this bit, you kept it in the first take, or you kept it in the first time. It didn't really work, but you can move on from that and pick it back up. Where if a joke doesn't work, you lay out another joke, and then, you know, you might have a hit record of like hit, one fails, move on really quick, and more hits. Instead, we have this joke that just doesn't land, doesn't make me giggle, and then it keeps going for like 5 scenes. It'll just keep cutting back, and we're still playing the same stupid fucking bit, and I'm like, why? Move on. Like, god damn it. God, back to the fucking plot. People are zombies. I'm jumping to the end. It takes place during Halloween, and there's a big Halloween ball thing where everybody's dressed up and they're dancing and shimmy shambling and whatever. And there's a hilarious bit where all these zombies storm the place. And they don't storm the place. They have a gingerly conversation with the lady accepting tickets, and then she tells them that it's $3 a ticket, and they start looking around and counting how many of them are there. And then she tells them that the dog that he bit in the beginning of the movie is going to stay out here. Then they give her a look, and then she's like, okay, well, they can come in here. And then they're like, cool. And then they start digging in their pockets, and then they lunge on her and bite her. So now she's a C.H.U.D too. Like in my head, I'm just like, so the joke here is that we're playing out this whole entire mundane scenario, and the punchline's going to be that they're going to lunge over and eat her. And wouldn't you know it, the punchline was that they lunged over the table and ate her. Wow. And then the most embarrassing is at this ball, or at this dance, because the whole movie, these fuckers are like invincible. They get blown up and they're fine. They get frozen and they're fine. And it's explained that like they're mutating and becoming stronger, so eventually they'll just be unstoppable. Which, okay, fine. You know what other zombie movie had zombies that couldn't die by getting blunt force trauma to the head and also was pretty tongue-in-cheek and kind of funny? Return of the Living fucking Dead. And I have that. I can watch that whenever. And I chose to watch C.H.U.D 2, which is Return of the Living Dead, at home. While they're at this ball, dance, whatever, you think that they could just like grab people and just grab another, because it's pretty busy, and before people would be able to get out, there'd only be like maybe 10 people that would get out of there without unscathed. Like there's enough zombies, enough chuds to overtake everything. Instead, it's like this weird slapsticky thing where they're dancing and like moving left and right, and when she moves left, the chud bites right, and then she moves right, and the chud bites left, and he's just confused as to why he just can't get a hold of her. Motherfucker, you have hands. Just grab the bitch, throw her down. Like, come on. And I know it's supposed to be funny, but it's not. And it just keeps cutting back to fucking buffoonery in the goddamn dance, and it's not funny. What we do discover during this, though, is that our teenagers have figured out that you can freeze them and then electrocute them, and they just explode because it like completes a circuit in their body, and then with the water being conductive or whatever, it just whatever. Move on. So the goal then is we need to lead them into the school's pool, freeze the pool, and then electrocute the pool so they all just can blow up. Cool, good plan, don't mind it. They have a weird fascination with the main girl. Well, the one chud does. The main chud, Bud, has a fascination with our main girl, Katie. And she uses that to her advantage to, in theory, get Bud and only Bud to chase her out of the dance, because Bud is the only one that has shown interest in her. Except now I guess all of the chuds want Katie specifically because they all follow her for some reason. I can understand this, like, the monster is no longer the beast when the girl's around, but it doesn't really work when there's fucking 37 beasts and there's one girl, and only the one beast has shown interest in the girl. So they all charge, all fall into the pool. There's an odd scene where Bud rips his heart out and tries to hand it to her to be like, ugh, and I feel like it was supposed to make me feel bad, but instead I'm just like, dog, just push him over, just like give him a hi-ya, you know, just push him. And they freeze the pool, they blow up the fuckers, and while that's happening, our main boy guy, Steve, I think his name is, Steve gets bit on his foot, and no one notices. And the whole time I'm like, don't be fucking demons. Don't be like demons where we are deliberately shown that this dude has been scratched or bitten, and then it's somebody else who turns. Don't fucking do this, because I swear to God. Instead, it is the next day, and there's no repercussions for them breaking into a government facility, and Katie and other guy are going to school, and Steve left them a note that says like, hey, I want to be a better person, so I'm leaving. And immediately I was like, okay, so that means he's killing himself, probably. Like, he made it to the end of this, and now he's like, okay, so I just have to kill myself now. I'm like, all right, so that's how he's saying goodbye. No, he's hitchhiking, and just so happens to be picked up by a car who is being driven by one of the chuds. He also has his dog. The fucking dog that was the first one infected, it's still there. The dog jumps out onto the truck bed, starts growling and biting and digging under a tarp. And under the tarp is like the military general who's been leading the charge on killing the chuds, who is now also a chud. And they have a joke about how he's undercover. They drive, and then the movie's over. Mercifully, the movie is over. There was a lot in this that annoyed me quite a bit. This was the complete inverse of C.H.U.D 1, where I initially was engaged and entertained with it in the beginning, because some of the jokes were funny. Some wacky hijinks. Some wacky hijinks between the teenagers. I was into it. I think from the second that they revived the Chud, and I realized he's not going to turn into one of those cool beetle f***ers, he's just going to stay like an undead zombie. I immediately was like, I know what this movie is, and I know what this movie's trying to be, and I know what it's not, which is Return of the Living Dead, because Return of the Living Dead is actually good and funny. and I just hated this. I'm saying this because, spoiler, I rated it a 2 out of 5, but I'm really thinking about it, and I just hated it. Not as much as Stuff Stephanie, because there was at least a plot moving forward here, but I just really did not like this movie. I don't think I'll ever rewatch this one. I probably will rewatch C.H.U.D. I would rewatch C.H.U.D. to see if the first 25 minutes were worth it at all. I don't think I'd ever touch this one again. It was just bad. And now knowing that the director has filmed musicals makes sense for some of the shots, because some of the shots are like 35 fucking feet away from anything. Like, the actors are doing something over there and they're ADR. They're not talking. They're all looking this way. And it's all very clearly like dialogue that they have said in a sound booth that they're putting over them speaking. And it's also shot from like 45 feet away. And that is like what you do for a stage play recording, is you record it really far away in like a master shot, so you can kind of like in post zoom in on areas you want. Except in this movie there was no in post zooming in on what they want, because they never had the actors talk, and you could see that their lips probably weren't moving, so they had to ADR everything. And there was so much ADR, so many weird instances of ADR in this movie, and just some of the comedy worked, some of it was funny. I got a laugh out of some of it, but God, the second that I figured out, oh, this is just another zombie thing, I was so uninterested. Zombies are fine, but you can only do it so much without doing something different. And the only thing different is that this movie was called C.H.U.D 2 Bud the C.H.U.D and not Zombie My Neighbor 13. Like, I'm just trying to think of anything positive to say, and the only positives that I can say are what C.H.U.D 1 did, which was, while zombie adjacent, they had some interesting things to do with the fact that they were radioactive creatures. Here they're not radioactive at all anymore. In C.H.U.D 1, with them being radioactive creatures, they were able to do an interesting concept that admittedly was kind of dropped pretty quickly, but the idea that you could use a Geiger counter and just kind of point it and visibly hear and see the radiation levels rise, and hear that Geiger counter click get a little bit more intense because one was getting closer. It was dropped fairly quickly, but again, that didn't make them zombies. Again, zombie adjacent, because they were people at one point and now they've turned into this. Whatever, I don't give a shit. There was at least something there that was interesting, and this movie just doesn't even have that. They're not radioactive creatures anymore. It's just zombies eat. Zombie movies eat. They eat people. And if you're not totally killed, then you're turned, but most of the time their goal is to consume you. In Return of the Living Dead, their goal is to eat your brain specifically because the endorphins in your brain are like a high to them. It's pain relief to those zombies. There's a goal to those zombies. There's a goal to the Romero zombies. The C.H.U.D's goal was just to bite and keep spreading, but not for food or sustenance or preservation. It was just multiplication, I guess. I don't know. There's no like logical reasoning behind why the monsters are doing what they're doing in this movie. They're just doing. Hell, even the first one had that, with like the people being ripped in half and shit. Their other halves were missing because they ate them. Like they were eating the people to survive. Oh my God, I don't know. I had this one rated a 2 out of 5, but just talking about it and getting so frustrated all over again. Fuck you, this gets a 1 out of 5. I hated this movie. It gets an extra half a point from just a half score. It gets an extra half a point just because some of the jokes made me laugh. But that's unfortunately because I'm pretty easy to please. You show me some general buffoonery, I'm probably going to giggle at it, but it gets to a point where it's just like, okay, come on. You did your general buffoonery. We don't have to keep fucking harping on this shit. So, yeah, this gets a 1. I hated this movie. I was being nice to it, but man, just like reliving some of it, I'm just like, this was a waste of time. This was just a waste. I should have just watched C.H.U.D 1 and known by the title of C.H.U.D 2 Bud the C.H.U.D I was going to hate this. But I pressed on. Tune in tomorrow for something. I don't know what it is yet. Maybe it'll be R.L. Stine. The Goosebumps guy just released a new movie on Tubi, so maybe. Though that would probably be confusing because that movie is also called Pumpkinhead, and I don't think it has anything to do with the previous movie Pumpkinhead that I talked about. But you know what? This is my show, so it might be that. I don't know. We'll see. Huh? Go home. Get out of here. Leave.
Hello, I'm back in my undisclosed location. The motion detection will not work, and there is a child in here with me now. through minor research that you could find by just doing one simple Google search that I did not, it turns out C.H.U.D 2 Bud the C.H.U.D was actually supposed to be a sequel to Return of the Living Dead. I made this comparison in my video, but I was unaware of this fact at the time. This does not really change the fact that if this was a Return of the Living Dead sequel, it would have been terrible, but I figure I should mention that because I insult this movie for trying to be a Return of the Living Dead knockoff, or wannabe, when it actually wanted to be and was not. So, kudos to me for calling it out, I guess, but I'm also sorry. I will also throw out that the guy that played Bud the C.H.U.D did a very good job of being a slapstick comedy, whatever, but it's not what I wanted from a C.H.U.D movie, and I'm sorry. No ill will to the actor. Okay, bye.